Hi, this video is about externalizing strings in Lucee. We do that to improve the memory footprint of our application. What that means in detail? Let me show you. This is a CFML file that has a lot of string inside, but not a lot of functionality. You see, I just make a CF output here with a year that is set above, but the rest is more or less string. And you see that mostly when you have an application that generates a lot of CFML files. So a content management system, web content management system, for example, or stuff like that, where you generate CFML files, they look mostly like this. You have a lot of CFML files that have a lot of static content inside. And when you execute that, you get the output, of course, but inside Lucee, let me go back a little bit, you have in your web context, you have the webin folder. There you have the Lucee folder. Inside there you have the CF classes folder. Every time you execute the CFML file, the runtime compiler compiles that file to Java bytecode and loads that bytecode and executes it. So in that case, we have the index CFML file. In the video folder, there is externalize string. And you see here we have the index CFML file. That's a class file that is around 6 kilobyte big. Let me show in detail. That is 5.7 kilobytes big. So, and most of that, or a lot of that, is just string. And now Lucee loads that bytecode. It loads also that string into memory. So you always have that string in memory until the JVM gets killed. So that could be a lot of memory occupied just by strings loaded by the bytecode. And if you have a lot of bytecode, I have seen application that has hundred thousands of CFML files generated, and all they get loaded and they get all into the memory. So that could of course occupy your memory a lot. For that, you have in the Lucee administrator, when you go to language compiler, you have the setting externalize strings. There you can say, okay, do not externalize strings at all. That's the default setting, but you can say, okay, externalize strings, and you can define what the threshold is. So only externalize strings bigger than 1,000 characters, 100 characters, or 10 characters. The reason for that is because that takes a little bit longer to execute the bytecode when it has to pick up the string from an external file than it has when it was in the bytecode itself. So that's a setting you can play a little bit around, and you will see the difference. So in that case, I go to the most extreme. I say, okay, every string that is bigger than 10 characters, externalize that. When I now save that, and I again execute my code, and we go back to the file system, and you see now we have next to the class file that is now smaller. When we look at the size of the class file in detail, you see now it's down to 2.5 kilobytes. We now have, in addition, we have this text file. When we look into that text file, you see in the text file is the string of the CFC itself. When we look into that, you see we have here on line 9, we have that CF output, for example, and here it is simply not there. So the bytecode will then know which pieces it had to grab from that file, and it only loads the file once, and it grabs these pieces from this file. So this is no longer in memory. When the bytecode is called, it loads that into memory, and outputs it, then it forgets about it. So the memory is not occupied forever. So that will reduce the footprint of your application. I hope this video was helpful to you. Have a good one.